शुक्लांबरधरं विष्णुं शशिवर्णं चतुर्भुजं प्रसन्नवदनं ध्यायेत् सर्वविघ्नोपशान्तये। सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः। अगजानन पद्मार्कं गजाननमहर्निशम् अनेकदन्तं भक्तानाम् एकदन्तमुपास्महे। श्रीमहागणपतये नमः। गुरवे सर्वलोकानां विषजे भवरोगिणां निधये सर्वविद्यानां श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। अस्मद्गुरुचरणारविन्दाभ्यां नमः। वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं। ज्ञानानन्दमयं देवं निर्मलस्फटिकाकृतिम् आधारं सर्वविद्यानां श्रीहयग्रीवमुपास्महे। श्रीहयग्रीवमूर्तये नमः। सरस्वती नमस्तुभ्यं वरदे कामरूपिणि विद्यारम्भं करिष्यामि सिद्धिर्भवतु मे सदा। श्रीमहासरस्वत्यै नमः। उमाकोमलहस्ताब्जसम्भावितललाटकं हिरण्यकुण्डलं वन्दे कुमारं पुष्करस्वजं। வெற்றிவேல் முருகனுக்கு ஹரஹரோஹரா. லோகவீரியம் மகாபூஜ்யம் சர்வரக்ஷாகரம் விபும் பார்வதி ஹிருதயானந்தம் சாஸ்தாரம் பிரணமாம்யகம். சுவாமியே சரணமையப்பா. வாகர்த்தாபிவ சம்பிரக்தோ வாகர்த்த பிரதிபத்தஹே ஜகதः பிதரோ வந்தே பார்வதி பரமேஸ்வரौ. ஸ்ரீ பார்வதி பரமேஸ்வராभ्यां நமः। कोमलं कूजयन् वेणुं श्यामलोऽयं कुमारकः वेदवेद्यं परब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। अस्मद्गुरुचरणारविन्दाभ्यां नमः। श्रीकृष्ण गोविन्द हरे मुरारे श्रीनाथ नारायण वासुदेव। श्रीकृष्ण गोविन्द हरे मुरारे श्रीनाथ नारायण वासुदेव। श्रीकृष्ण गोविन्द हरे मुरारे श्रीनाथ नारायण वासुदेव। पीताम्बरं करविराजितचक्रशङ्खकौमोदकी सरसिजं करुणासमुद्रं राधासहायम् अतिसुन्दरमन्दहासं वातालयेशम् अनिशं हृदि भावयामि। कृष्णो रक्षतु मां चराचरगुरुः कृष्णं नमस्ये सदा। कृष्णेनैव सुरक्षितोऽहमसकृतिं कृष्णाय दत्तं मनः। कृष्णादेव समुद्भवो मम विभो कृष्णस्य दासोऽस्म्यहं। कृष्णे भक्तिरचञ्चलास्तु भगवन् हे कृष्ण तुभ्यं नमः। श्रीगुरुवायूरप्पा शरणं। नम्राणां सन्निधत्ते सततमपि पुरस्तैरणभ्यर्थितानपि आर्तान् कामानजस्रं वितरति परमानन्दसान्द्रां गतिं च। इत्थं निःशेषलभ्यो निरवधिकफलः पारिजातो हरे त्वं क्षुद्रं तं चक्रवाटी ध्रुवमभिलषति व्यर्थमर्त्यव्रजोऽयं। श्रीगुरुवायूरप्पा शरणं। श्रीभट्टपादम् अनिशं हृदि भावयामि। वंशी विभूषितकरात् नवनीरदाभात् पीताम्बरात् अरुणबिम्बफलादरोष्टात् पूर्णेन्दुसुन्दरमुखात् अरविन्दनेत्रात् कृष्णात् परं किमपि तत्त्वमहं न जाने। ഐരണ്ടും കൂപ്പി ഞാൻ വീണ്ടും ഇറക്കുന്നു നീരജലോചന നിന്നോടായി. ഈ തീനു മഞ്ഞനെ കുമ്പിടേണ്ട തോറു രീതിയിൽ നീ എന്നെ പാലിക്കനായി. കൃഷ്ണ ഹരേ ജയ കൃഷ്ണ ഹരേ ജയ കൃഷ്ണ ഹരേ ജയ കൃഷ്ണ ഹരേ. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
We'll do a quick review of 94 today. Vijay, can you do one half? Matangi, will you be able to do one half today?
I'll do first half. Yeah.
Okay. No problem.
Yeah. Okay. Dasakam 94. शुद्धादिष्कामधर्मैः प्रवर गुरुगिरा तत्स्वरूपं परं ते शुद्धं देहेन्द्रियादि व्यपगतम् अखिल व्याप्तम् आवेदयन्ते नानातत्त्वस्थौल्य कार्ष्यादितु गुणजवपुः संगतो ध्यास्तितं ते वग्ने दारुप्रभे देषु इव महद्धनुता दीप्तता शान्ततादि.
Vijay, and the last line, the
Yeah.
first word, prabedeshiva. If you have prabedeshu iva, you just join it, right? It becomes prabedeshviva. And then there is a pause, okay?
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Thank you. आचार्याख्य अदरस्थारणि समुनमिलचिष्य रूपोतरारन् यावेधोद्भासितेन स्फुटतर परिबोधाग्निना दह्यमाने कर्मालि वासाना तत्कृत धनुभुवन भ्रान्ति कान्तारपुरे दह्या भावेन विद्या शिखिनी च विरते त्वन्मयी कल्ववस्ता.
Fourth line, first word, dahya. Okay,
Dahya.
da.
Okay. Dahya bhaven.
Yeah.
एवं प्राप्तितो न्यो न हि खलु निखिला क्लेशहाने रूपायो नैकान्तात् यान्तिकास्ते ऋषिवद अघद षड्गुण्य षट्कर्मयोगाः.
So there, why did he say Krishi Vada Agada? It's Krishi Vada Gada. It's one word, right? Second line.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Krishi Vada Gada. Okay.
Krishi Vada Gada.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. I'm sorry.
No. I was just curious if you were breaking it or something, but yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Narayaneeyam Dasakam.
Durvaikalair अखल्यपि निगमपताः तत्फलान्यप्यवाप्ताः मत्तास्त्वां विस्मरन्थ प्रसज्जति पतने यान्त्यनन्तान विषाधान्.
And the third line after Vapta, there is no Visarga, okay? Just Vapta, no Vaptaha. Okay.
Oh, okay. It has here. Okay. Vapta. Okay. Okay. Tvalokaadanyalokah tvanu भयरहितो यत् परार्धत्वयान्ते त्वद्भीता सत्यलोकेऽपि न सुखवसतिः प्रद्मभुः पद्मनाभा एवं भावे त्वद्धर्मार्जित बहुतं सां काकता नारकाणां तन्मे त्वं चिन्धि बन्धं वरद कृपण बन्धो कृपापूर सिन्धो. याथार्थ्यात् त्वन्मयस्यैव हि मम न विभो वस्तुतो बन्धमोक्षौ माया विद्या तनुभ्यां तव नु विरचितौ स्वप्नबोधोपमौ तौ भद्दे जीवत विमुक्तिं गतवती च विधा तावदेखो भुङ्क्ते देहेन्द्रुमस्तो विषयफलरसान् नापरो निर्व्यतात्मा.
You can stop there. Very good. So fourth line, second word, Deha Drumasto.
Deha Drumasta. Yeah. Thank you.
जीवन्मुक्तत्वयम् एवं विहमति वचसा किं फलं दूरदूरे तन्नामाशुद्धबुद्धेः न चलु लघु मनसशोधनं भक्तितोऽन्यत् तन्मे विष्णुकिरीस्ताः त्वयि कृत सकल प्रार्पणं भक्तिभारम् येन स्यां मंशु किंचित गुरुवचनमिलत् त्वत्प्रबोधस्त्वदात्मा शब्दा ब्रह्मण्यपीह प्रयतति मनसः त्वां न जानन्ति केचित् कष्टं वन्द्यश्रमस्ते चिरतरमिह गां बिभ्रते निष्प्रसूतिं यस्यां विश्वाभिरामाः सकलमलहरा दिव्यलीलावताराः सच्चित् सान्द्रं च रूपं तव न निगदितं तां न वचां ब्रियासं.
Nothing in the last line, second last word, Vacham Briyasam. Okay.
वाचं ब्रियासं यो यावन् यादृशो वा त्वमिति किमपि नैवावगच्छामि भूमन् एवं चानन्यभावः त्वदनुभजनम् एवाद्रिये चैद्यवैरिन् त्वैलिङ्गानां त्वदङ्घ्रि प्रियजनसदसां दर्शनस्पर्शनादिः भूयान्मे त्वत् प्रपूजा नतिनुति गुण कर्मणु कीर्त्यार्धरूपी यद्यल्लाभ्यते तत्तव प्रहृतं देवदासोऽस्मिन् तेऽहं त्वद्गेहं मार्जनाद्यं भवतु मम मुहुः कर्म निर्मायमेव सूर्याग्नि ब्राह्मणात्मादिषु लसिति चतुर्बाहुम् आधार्य त्वां त्वत्प्रेमार्धत्वरूपो मम सततम् यान्ततां भक्तियोगः ऐक्यं ते दान होम व्रत नियम तपस् सांख्य योगे दुरापं त्वत्सङ्गेनैव गोप्यः किल सुकृतमां प्रापुरो नन्दसान्द्रं भक्तेष्वन्येषु भूयस्वपि बहुमनुषे भक्तिमेव त्वमासां तन्मे त्वद्भक्तिमेव हृदय हरगदान् कृष्ण वातालयेश.
The last line, Dradaya Haragada.
Drada.
Okay. You think you said Dradaya, Dradaya. Okay. Come on. Very good. Both of you did really well. Like I said, all of these are tough chapters, right? But I think you both did really well. Okay, so we left it, we finished up to stanza 5 on 95, right? So we'll continue with stanza 6. So we first half today, Vasanta Garu, you can be a student, and Minu, will you be a student today, first half?
Sorry, Rajesh, நான் வந்து இங்க விளக்கேத்திருக்கேன். Can you give me a few minutes? Next year session க்கு நான்
Okay,
வந்துடுறேன்.
maybe second half you can be. Okay,
Yeah,
so
thank you.
So Vasanta Garu and Ramya, maybe you can be student first half.
Sure, Rajesh.
So stanza 6. चित्तार्ध्री भावमुच्चैर्वपुषि च पुलकं हर्षभाष्पं च हित्वा चित्तं शुद्धेत् कथं वा किमु बहुतपसा विद्यया बीतभक्तेः त्वद्गातास्वादसिद्धाञ्जनसततमरीमृज्यमानोऽयमात्मा चक्षुर्वत्तत्त्वसूक्ष्मं भजति न तु तथाभ्यस्तया तर्ककोट्या. And we were discussing the means of liberation, right? So we talked about, how when you completely give everything up, and then, you have one who has achieved peace of mind with the senses and who's completely equal in all conditions, they can find happiness everywhere. So we were kind of seeing how all of those were happening. So in the next set of stanzas, Krishna, like we're talking through the Uddhava Gita, he's giving specific instructions to Uddhava of what to follow and how to follow. Like very similar to Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna, he gave about all the yogas. Here, Uddhava Gita, he's giving some related topics, but some special instructions as well here, right? So here it says, you can follow any path, right? We always discuss that. So, and what Krishna here says is, whether you're doing religious work, whether you are actually being completely truthful, you're being very merciful to everybody, you are doing the necessary penances, you're doing knowledge, all of that is good, right? It'll definitely purify your current existence today. But it says is it does not completely root out, does not completely eliminate all the material desires you may have. So you may come up to a point where you had enough material things, you've been enjoying your life, and you say, okay, finally I'm done with all of these things. I'm now going to completely devote myself to doing selfless service. I'm going to devote myself to prayers and everything. But even at that point, while it is good, it will help you make progress. It says the root of it is not eliminated, because of which at any point those material desires may spring up again, right? It does not completely get done. So here what Krishna says is the only way to completely root out all of that, right, is to have complete unalloyed devotional service to Krishna, right, or to any Bhagwan, right? To have complete devotional service, that is the only way out, right? And which you can get by chanting the names, doing prayers, all of these things. That will completely eliminate it, while the rest of the stuff will not completely eliminate it. And he says how the devotion should be. This is kind of Krishna is telling. He says, when you say, okay, I'm praying every day, now does it mean I'm devoted enough that it completely eliminates all of these things? Is the devotion should be such that when you hear about the stories of the Lord, or when you're praying to Bhagwan, then your hair should stand on your body. You should have horripilation all over your body, right? That's a feeling you should get. And once you get that, then it says your heart will melt, right? When you see something really sad, let's say an example, your heart melts, right? So you're so much in love with the God that your heart is melting. And when your heart melts, the next thing that will happen, you should have tears coming through your eyes in devotion to the God, right? And then if you have the tears of love coming through your eyes, then you'll be in a state of spiritual happiness. He says at that point, and that is pure love, right? That you have to do to Bhagwan. He says that kind of devotion you need to have, because if you have that kind of devotion, then all of these material desires will get uprooted. Just like the example here they're giving is, just like when you have a problem with your eye, and then they put the eye drops, it clears all the problems and you can see things clearly. Similarly, when you have this level of devotion on a consistent basis, it will completely eradicate those material desires and you'll be able to see me. Like that's what Krishna is telling. So chittardri bhavam uchair, you can break it at ma, bhavam uchair, vapushi cha pulakam, comma, harsha bashpam cha hitva, comma, chittam shuddhyet katam va, comma, kimu bahu tapasa vidyaya vita bhaktehe. चित्तार्ध्री भावमुच्चैर्वपुषि च पुलकं हर्षभाष्पं च हित्वा चित्तं शुद्धेत् कथं वा किमु बहुतपसा विद्यया वीतभक्तेः.
चित्तार्थी भावमुच्चैर्वपुषि च पुलकं हर्षबाष्पं च हित्वा चित्तं शुद्धेत् कथं वा किमु बहुतपसा विद्यया वीतभक्तेः. चित्तार्थी भावमुच्चैर्वपुषि च पुलकं हर्षबाष्पं च हित्वा चित्तं शुद्धेत् कथं वा किमु बहुतपसा विद्यया वीतभक्तेः.
चित्तार्द्रि भावमुच्चैर्वपुषि च पुलकं हर्षबाष्पं च हित्वा चित्तं शुद्धयेत् कथं वा किमु बहुतपसा विद्यया वीतभक्तेः.
And the second line, Ramyan, shuddhyet. I think you said shuddhayet, you said, right? Shuddhyet, id the sound.
Shuddhyet.
Yeah.
चित्ताद्रिभावमुच्चैर्वपुषि च पुलकं हषभाष्पं च हित्वा चित्तं शुद्ध्येत्य कथं वा किमु बहुतपसा विद्यया वीतभक्तेः.
So third line is a long line. We'll try to break it. Tvad gatha swada siddhanjana satata mari manoyamatma. That's one word. Manoyamatma. Then comma. Chakshur vat tattva sukshmam bhajati, comma. Nathu tatabhyastaya. That's one word. Tatabhyastaya tarkakotya. त्वद्घातास्वादसिद्धाञ्जनसततमरीमृज्यमानोऽयमात्मा चक्षुर्वत्तत्त्वसूक्ष्मं भजति न तु तदाभ्यस्तया तर्ककोट्या.
त्वद्गाथास्वादसिद्धाञ्जन सततमरीमृज्यमानोऽयमात्मा चक्षुर्वत्तत्त्वसूक्ष्मं भजति न तु तथाभ्यस्तया तर्ककोट्याम्. त्वद्गाथास्वादसिद्धाञ्जन सततमरीमृज्यमानोऽयमात्मा चक्षुर्वत्तत्त्वसूक्ष्मं भजति न तु तथाभ्यस्तया तर्ककोट्या.
त्वद्गातास्वादसिद्धाञ्जन सत्ततमरीमृज्यमानोऽयमात्मा चक्षुर्वत्तत्त्वसूक्ष्मं भजति न तु तथाभ्यस्तया तर्ककोट्या. त्वद्गाथास्वादसिद्धाञ्जन मानोयमात्मा चक्षुर्वत्तत्त्वसूक्ष्मं भजति न तु तथाभ्यस्तया तर्ककोट्या.
ध्यानं ते शीलयेयं समतनुसुखबद्धासनो नासिकाग्रन्यस्ताक्षः पूरकाधीः जितपवनपतश्चित्तपद्मं त्ववाञ्छम् ऊर्ध्वाघ्रं भावयित्वा रविभिदुषिकिनः संविचिन्त्योपरिष्टात् तत्रस्थं भावये त्वां सजलजलधर श्यामलं कोमलाङ्गम्. 7 and 8 kind of connected, but I'll try to separate out. Maybe we'll combine in the explanation. So we saw in the last, I think, Dasakam also, when we were talking about Shankaracharya, where they said even Shankaracharya, Bhartripad was telling even Shankaracharya, when he was prescribing about how to meditate, he was referring to you, O Krishna, right? When he was kind of doing the comparison, right? So here in Uddhava Gita, Krishna is giving Uddhava a very clear mechanism of how to meditate. Right, very clearly it's explained, very detailed in Bhagavatam, but we won't go into that level of detail, or at least give the general periphery of what it is, right? So, because we all meditate, and I'm not saying one meditation is good or bad, I'm just taking how it is defined here, right? He says you sit properly and all that stuff, you keep your body straight, keep your body erect, keep your hands on your lap, and he says you should focus on the tip of your nose, not between your eyes or any other place. He says you get your attention and focus to the tip of your nose, right? So nasikagre, nasikagra is the edge of the nose, right? And then, of course, the first step of any meditation is to get your breath under control. We also saw that in Ashtanga Yoga. So he says you go through the Rechaka, which is inhaling, Kumbhaka, which is keeping it steady and then bringing it down. You do it consistently. And by doing it, and the number of times, and for those who know, for people who do Sandhya Mandanam regularly, I'll very clearly caution, because I don't do it 3 times a day and all that stuff, but we're supposed to do 3 times a day. In that, we have 10 times we do pranayama for each of the time when we do it, which is what it is said here, right? He said you do this pranayama properly 10 times, once in the morning, once in the afternoon, once in the evening, over a long period of times. And when you start doing it consistently, he says over a period of time, you'll be able to get the prana vayu under control over a period of time, right? So when you start doing it, he says, you then keep bringing the pranavayu, and then at one point, right, you then start bringing it to a point where you start meditating or focusing. That's the next part that comes. And the focus, he says, keep your eyes closed, right? And then you kind of, when you are thinking about it, focusing on the tip of your nose, you think of a lotus, which is actually situated in your heart, right? So in your think, you're focusing on the tip of your nose, but in your mind, you're thinking about a lotus, which is situated in your heart. On that lotus, it says you think about the entire world being there, the sun, moon, whatever, and there's a fire. In that fire, which is in the wall of the lotus, in the central portion of the lotus, in that fire, Krishna says, you imagine my form, right? And what the form is going to come in the 8th stanza. So I'll wait for that. So it says, you imagine my form. And in that form, you kind of think about how I am in that form. And that's how you actually start your meditation, right? And we'll see how that form is in the next stanza. So dhyanam te shilayeyam, sama thanu sukha baddhasano nasikagra, and then put a plus. Nyastakshaha, put a F to join. Nyastakshah purakadhyehi. So put a visarga and comma there. Purakadhyehi, comma. Next line on top of the jita, that ir goes away. Jita pavana patash chitta padmam tvavancham. Dhyanam te shilayeyam samatanu sukha baddhasano nasikagranyastakshah purakadhyehi jita pavana pataschitta padmam tvavancham.
Dhyanam te shilayeyam samatanu sukhavadasano nasikagranyastakshah purakadhyehi jita pavana pataschitta padmam tvavancham. Dhyanam te shilayeyam samatanu sukhavadasano nasikagranyastakshah purakadhyehi jita pavana pataschitta padmam tvavancham.
ध्यानं ते शीलयेयं समतनुसुखबद्धासनो नासिकाग्रन्यसत्ताक्षः पूरकाद्यैः जितपवनपथश्चित्तपद्मं त्ववाञ्छं ध्यानं ते शीलयेयं समतनुसुखबद्धासनो नासिकाग्रन्यस्ताक्षः पूरकागैः जितपवनपथश्चित्तपदं त्ववाञ्छम्.
Yeah, and the last word, Ramya, chitta padmam.
Chitta-padmam tvavancham.
Urdhvagram bhavayitva, ravi vidhu shikinaha, is there, put a is to join, shikinas samvichintyoparishtat, that's one word, tatrastam bhavayetvam, sajala jaladhara Shyamalam Komalangam. He's beginning to describe the Lord here, but I'll wait till the 8th stanza. But there, tatrastam bhavayetvam. So I'm going to meditate on you sitting on that lotus. It is said there's some lotus-shaped structure which is facing downwards in the heart. But here he says you imagine that lotus facing upwards so that the whole of the lotus, the central yellow portion, is on top. And there you see the Lord standing. Urdhvagram bhavayitva ravi bidushikinah samvichintyoparishtat tatrastam bhavayetvam sajala jaladhara shyamalam komalangam.
Urdhvagram bhavayitva ravividhusikinah samvichintyoparishtat tatrastham bhavayetvam sajala jaladhara shyamalam komalangam. Urdhvagram bhavayitva ravividhusikinah samvichintyoparishtat tatrastham bhavayetvam sajala jaladhara shyamalam komalangam.
ऊर्ध्वाग्रं भावयित्वा रविविदुषिखिनः संविचिन्त्योपरिष्टात् तत्रस्तं भावये त्वां सजलधर श्यामलं कोमलाङ्गम् ऊर्ध्वाग्रं भावयित्वा रविविदुषि खिनः संविचिन्तयोपरिष्टात् तत्रस्तं भावये त्वां सजलधर श्यामलं कोमलाङ्गम्.
Chapter 8. आनीलश्लक्ष्णकेशं ज्वलितमकरसत्कुण्डलं मन्दहास्यस्यन्दार्द्रं कौस्तुभश्रीपरिगतवनमालोरुहाराभिरामं श्रीवत्साङ्कं सुबाहुं मृदुलसदुदरं काञ्चनच्छायचेलं चारुस्निग्धोरुमम्बोरुहललितपदं भावयेऽहं भवन्तम्. So he says, may I meditate on that form of you, O Lord, which is described, right? So it says, again, this is what we've seen in many times. The spirit, the form of the Lord, which is in the color of a dark rain cloud, dark gray in color, is wrapped up in yellow, golden color, yellow pitambaram that is there. The chest of the Lord has the Srivatsa mark where Mahalakshmi is sitting. And then it is now, and then he has, of course, the four things in his hands. One is Shanku, Chakram, Gadam, Padmam, which is there. There's a Vanamali, which is a garland of lotus, of forest flowers, which are actually there. Then his feet has, the ankles and the bracelets, and the Kaustuba gem is actually there on his neck. So kind of describes all of that. He then has a golden color belt, which is there. The arms are then with appropriate bracelets and everything. So he says, you imagine this beautiful form of the Lord and just meditate on that form of the Lord, focusing on the tip of your nose. And then by constantly doing this, you will be able to pull your senses back. Again, none of this is possible in day one. You have to do it over a long period of time, right? By doing that, eventually he says, we'll see what happens next. But anyway, he says, do this. This is the way you should meditate first to start off with, right? So, Anila Shlakshna Kesham, comma, Jwalita Makara Sat Kundalam Mandahasa, put a plus, Mandahasa, smiling face, Mandahasa plus Syandardram, and then put a comma. So one comma after Kesham in the first line, and second comma after Syandardram in the second line. Kaustubha Shri Parigata Vanamaloru Harabhiramam. Anilashlashnakesham Jwalitamakarasakundalam Mandahasasyandardram Kaustubhashri Parigata Vanamaloruharabhiramam.
आनीलश्लक्ष्णकेशं ज्वलितमकरसत्कुण्डलं मन्दहासस्यन्दार्द्रं कौस्तुभश्रीपरिगतवनमालोरुहाराभिरामम् आनीलश्लक्ष्णकेशं ज्वलितमकरसत्कुण्डलं मन्दहासस्यन्दार्द्रं कौस्तुभश्रीपरिगतवनमालोरुहाराभिरामम्
आनीलक्ष्णकेशं ज्वलितमकरसत्कुण्डलं मन्दहासस्यान्दाद्रं कौस्तुभश्रीपरिगतवनमालोरुहाराभिरामम्.
Remain the second line, first word, Syandardram.
Syandad, okay. आनीलश्लक्ष्णकेशं ज्वलितमकरसत्कुण्डलं मन्दहासस्यन्दाद्रं कौस्तुभं श्रीपरिगतवनमालोरुहाराभिरामम्.
Srivatsankam Subahum, comma, Mrudu Lasadhudaram Kanchana Chayachelam, comma, Charu Snigdhorum, you can break it that ma if you want, Charu Snigdhorum Amboruha Lalita Padam, comma, Bhavayeham Bhavantam. Srivatsankam Subahum मृदुलसदुदरं काञ्चनच्छायचेलं चारुस्निग्धोरुमम्बोरुहललितपदं भावयेऽहं भवन्तम्
श्रीवत्साङ्कं सुबाहुं मृदुलसदुदरं काञ्चनच्छायचेलं चारुस्निग्धोरुमम्भोरुह ललितपदं भावयेऽहं भवन्तम् श्रीवत्साङ्कं सुबाहुं मृदुलसदुदरं काञ्चनच्छायचेलं चारुस्निग्धोरुमम्बोरुहललितपदं भावयेऽहं भवन्तम्
श्रीवत्साङ्कं सुबाहुं मृदुलसदुदरं काञ्चनच्छायचेलं चारुस्निग्धोरुमम्बोरुह ललितपदं भावयेऽहं भवन्तम् श्रीवत्साङ्कं सुबाहुं मृदुलसुदुदरं काञ्चनच्छायचेलं चारुस्निग्धोरुमम्बोरुह ललितपदं भावयेऽहं भवन्तम्
सर्वाङ्गेष्वङ्गरङ्गत्कुतुकमिति मुहुर्धारयन्नीशचित्तं तत्राप्येकत्र युञ्जे वदनसरसिजे सुन्दरे मन्दहासे तत्रालीनं तु चेतः परमसुखचिदद्वैतरूपे वितन्वन् अन्यन्नो चिन्तयेयं मुहुरिति समुपारूढयोगो भवेयम्. So like how we learned in the Ashtanga Yoga, you go through the Dharana and Dhyana, and we kind of saw the difference, right? So here, the previous one is Dharana, which is you're forcing your mind to focus on a specific object, and you're trying to keep your mind on that object. So he says, first you remember this entire full body of the body of mind, because your mind is going to keep wandering. It's very easy if you remember the full form, because if your mind is moving away from the legs, you move to the hands, you go to the face, you go do all of that stuff. Easy, right? To little bit keep it under control. He says, but eventually, it says you zoom in further. So you take the full form of the Lord and you just zoom in only to the smiling face of Krishna, he says. So don't look at the full body now. Just look at the Lord's face. And then once you focus and you improve on just focusing on the face, the next it says is, you remember me in my Advaita form, which is you now remember me in a form which has no form, right? So formless. So that is where you kind of go into the dhyana state, right? So, sorry, you had a question?
Yeah, sorry. Dharanam means dhyanam?
And the dhyana is a next level. Dhyana is a stage 7, dharana is stage 6. So in dharana, you like the example, if you're a photographer, right, a wildlife photographer, you then take your camera, you see a deer or a tiger running, you're taking your camera and you're moving your camera along with it.
So
Right?
staying focused, basically
Staying focused, but you're consciously moving your camera and doing it. In the dhyana state is like you are not doing anything consciously. You're just still, and you're not thinking about it, right? That's a subtle difference between the dharana and dhyana. It's a big difference, but I'm just saying the subtly saying that is
easy to understand. Yeah, okay. Thank you.
So in this dhyana state, you say, okay, in the dharana, you first take the full body of mind, then you just focus on my face. Then when you get to the dhyana state, he says you imagine no form, which is you imagine me in my Advaita form, right? So the simple way of explaining here, he says that you just think of the sky, because sky has nothing, right? Now you can't imagine the Lord's form in the sky, he says. You think of the sky, the nothingness there, and that is my dhyana form. So by doing this, then you will automatically even give up meditation. Because once you get into the dhyana state in the Ashtanga Yoga, you will eventually start approaching that state of samadhi, where you are becoming one with the universal consciousness, and there will be no difference between you and anything else, or you and the Lord. You will see me, very clearly said, you will see me in you, and you will see you in me. That's what Krishna says, right? So kind of you and I will become one. There will be no difference. You'll reach that state eventually, but it takes time. So Sarvangeshwanga, can't break that. Sarvangeshwanga Rangat Kutukhamiti, comma, Muhur Dharayannisha Chittam, comma, Tatrapekatra Yunje, comma, Vadana Sarasije, Sundare Mandahase. सर्वाङ्गेष्वङ्गरङ्गत् कुतुकमिति मुहुर्धारयन्नीश चित्तं तत्राप्येकत्र युञ्जे वदन सरसिजे सुन्दरे मन्दहासे
सर्वाङ्गेष्वङ्गरङ्गत्कुतुकमति मुहुर्धारयन्नीश चित्तं तत्राप्येकत्र युञ्जे वदन सरसिजे सुन्दरे मन्दहासे.
Vasudha Garu, that first line kutukam iti.
Oh, in my book, yeah, it says mati.
Okay, so kutukam iti, okay, and then a comma after that, okay.
Oh, rangat kutukamiti after comma?
Yeah, one comma after that, yeah.
Ah, okay, sorry. सर्वाङ्गेष्वङ्गरङ्गत् कुतुकमिति मुहुर्धारयन्नीश चित्तं तत्राप्येकत्र युञ्जे वदन सरसिजे सुन्दरे मन्दहासे. सर्वाङ्गेष्वङ्गरङ्गत् कुतुकमिति मुहुर्धारयन्नीश चित्तं तत्राप्येकत्र युञ्जे वदन सरसिजे सुन्दरे मन्दहासे.
सर्वाङ्गेष्वङ्ग रङ्गकुतुकमिति मुहुर्धारयन्नीश चित्तं तत्राप्येकत्र युञ्जे वदन सरसिजे सुन्दरे मन्दहासे. सर्वाङ्गेष्वङ्गरङ्गकुतुकमिति मुहुर्धारयन्नीश चित्तं तत्राप्येकत्र युञ्जे वदन सरसिजे सुन्दरे मन्दहासे.
Tatradinam tu chetaha, comma, parama sukha. The next word, you can break it if you want. It is chit advaita. Or you can say chid advaita together, or chit advaita rupe bitanvan. Put a in at the end of that line and comma, bitanvan. Next time you'll have two nas, that will become a. Anyanno chintayeyam, comma, muhuriti samuparudha yogo bhaveyam. Tatralinam tu chetah paramasukachidadvaita rupe bitanvan anyanno chintayeyam muhuriti samuparudha yogo bhaveyam.
तत्रालीनं तु चेतः परमसुखचिदद्वैतरूपे वितन्वन् अन्यन्यो चिन्तयेयं मुहुरिति समुपारूढयोगो भवेयम्. तत्रालीनं तु चेतः परमसुखचिदद्वैतरूपे वितन्वन् अन्यन्नो चिन्तयेयं मुहुरिति समुपारूढयोगो भवेयम्.
तत्रालीनं तु चेतः परमसुखचिद्वैतरूपे वितन्वन् अन्यन्नो चिन्तयेयं मुहुरिति समुपारूढयोगो भवेयम्.
Ramya, and the third line is easy to break it as chid advaita. Then it will say land properly. Paramasukachid advaita.
परमसुखचित् अद्वैतरूपे. तत्रालीनं तु चेतः परमसुखचित् अद्वैतरूपे वितन्वन् अन्यन्नो चिन्तयेयं मुहुरिति समुपारूढ योगो भवेयम्.
Ittam twadhyana yoge sati पुनरनिमाद्यष्टसंसिद्धयस्ताः दूरश्रुत्यादयोऽपि ह्यहमहमिकया सम्पतेयुर्मुरारे त्वत्सम्प्राप्तौ विलम्भावहमखिलमिदं नाद्रिये कामयेऽहं त्वामेवानन्दपूर्णं पवनपुरपते पाहि मां सर्वतापात्. She says once you kind of go through this dhyana, you go through the Ashtanga yoga, of course, you'll attain the state of samadhi. But before you attain the state of samadhi, you'll get the Ashta Siddhi. So for anybody who we say has Ashta Siddhi, Like Parashurama has Ashtasiddhi, Hanuman has, all of these people who have Ashtasiddhi, what it means is they've reached that state actually. So they can technically be in a state of Samadhi if they want, right? And the Ashtasiddhi, of course, one of them is Anima, which means the ability to become smaller than the smallest, right? Then Mahima, which is to become bigger than the biggest, and you can become heavier than the heaviest, lighter than the lightest. You can be anything. You can travel anywhere without any, wherever you desire. It kind of has all of these benefits. But here Bhattacharya as a prayer is saying, even though all these Ashtasiddhis will keep fighting amongst each other, aham, ikaya, saying, please take me, please take me. He says, I'm going to reject all of that. The reason he says we should reject all of that is because it delays you attaining the Lord. So imagine if you can go anywhere you want. Imagine you can do whatever you want. Will you ever give up this body and actually go for liberation? You won't, right? You'll always want to be now leveraging those benefits. So he says, while all these things will compete, bless me so that I don't take all these things. Because the moment I take these things, it will delay me approaching you. So let me reject all of these things so that I can get to you faster, which should be the ultimate aim of these things, right? So with that, Pahimam Sarvatapo, Lord of Guru Vayu, please eradicate all the ailments I have and let me get this so I can get to you faster. Ittam Tvad Dhyana Yoge Sati, comma. This word, I'll break it. Punar Animadhyashta. You can break it there. Punar Animadhyashta Samsiddha Yastaha. Double da Samsiddha Yastaha, comma. Dura Shrutyadayopi Hyaham Ahamikaya. So the first is half ha, okay. Hyaham Ahamikaya. You can break it there, comma. Sampateyur Murare. Ittam Twadhyana Yoge Sati Punaranimadhyashtasamsiddhayastaha Durashrutyadayopi Hyahamahamikaya Sampateyurmurare.
Ittham tvadhyanayoge sati punaranimadhyashtasamsiddhayastaha durashrutyadayopi hyahamahamikaya sampateyurmurare. Ittham tvadhyanayoge sati punaranimadhyashtasamsiddhayastaha durashrutyadayopi hyahamahamikaya sampateyurmurare.
Ittam tvadhyana yoge sati punar animadyashta samsiddhayastaha durashrutyadyopi hyaham ahamikaya sampate yurmurare. Ittam tvadhyana yoge sati punar animadyashta samsiddhayastaha durashrutyadyopi hyam ahayaham
Hyaham Ahamikaya.
yaham ahamikaya sampate yurmurare.
Tvat Sampraptau Vilambavaham. You can break it that ma. Vilambavaham Akhilamidam Nadriye, and then put a comma. Then Kamayeham, then put a plus there. I'll tell you why we are doing it that way. So after Nadriye is a comma. Kamayeham, put a plus. Twamevananda Purnam, and then a comma. So it says the Vilambavaham. Right, so it says all of these things which are going to come. I want to I don't want na adri. I don't want any of this because, comma, kamayeham twamevananda purnam. All I want is being with you, right? So that's why we're kind of putting the comma after that nadriye there. Then after twamevananda purnam, the fourth line is a comma. Then pavana purapate pahimam sarvatapat. Twatsampraptau vilambhavahamakhilamidam nadriye. Kamayeham twamevanandapurnam pavanapurapate pahimam sarvatapat.
Vatsampraptau vilambavahamakhilamidam nadriye kamayeham tvamevanandapurnam पवनपुरपते पाहि मां सर्वतापात् त्वत्सम्प्राप्तौ विलम्बावहमखिलमिदं नाद्रिये कामयेऽहं त्वामेवानन्दपूर्णं पवनपुरपते पाहि मां सर्वतापात्
त्वत्सम्प्राप्तौ विलम्बावह अखिलमिदं नाद्रिये कामयेऽहं त्वामेवानन्दपूर्णं पवनपुरपते पाहि मां सर्वतापात् त्वत्सम्प्राप्तौ विलम्बावह अखिलमिदं नाद्रिये कामयेऽहं त्वामेवानन्दपूर्णं पवनपुरपते पाहि मां सर्वतापात्
Krishnaya Brahmane Namaha. It's 95. We'll just switch. We're halfway through as well. Usha Garu, you can be student, and Minu, you can be student. So Dashakam 96 is Bhagavat Vibhuti Varnana. So talking about the glories of the Lord. Very nice Dashakam. This is first few stanzas are very nice, very meaningful ones as well. So stanza 1. Tvam he brahmaiva sakshat paramuru mahiman aksharanamakarah taro mantreshu rajñam manurasi munishutvam bhrigur naradopi prahlado danhavanam pashuchucha surabihi pakshinam vainateyo naganam asyanantah surasaridapi cha strotasam vishwamurte. So it says, oh Bhagavan, you are Uru Mahiman, you are of infinite glory. If you have to praise somebody, right, then you go and say, you are an awesome cook. I absolutely love your sambar or whatever they make really well. You can call out something very specific and praise them. But how do you then praise somebody like Narayana, who's infinite, who has so many qualities, right? So he says, I'm finding it very hard to describe how great you are. So he then goes on to say some of those things in comparison, right? First, he starts off by saying, Vishwamurtehe. The word Vishwamurti means the one who has the entire world inside of him. That's the meaning of the word Vishwamurti, right? So as you all know from Sahasranam, which says Bhupadav Yasya Nabir Beda Suranilas Chandra Surya Uchanetre Karna Vasha Shirodhyor Mukumapi Dahano Yasya Vasteyam Agni. So it says all of these are already contained inside you. We saw the Virat Swarupam of the Lord, right? So he says you are a Vishwamurti, you have everything contained of you. Then you are the Supreme Brahman. First, Sakshat Parabrahman. So you are the Supreme Brahman. Aksharanam Akaraha. So he says of the letters, the alphabets, you are the Akaram, which means you are the beginning of the letter, right? A refers to the word Narayan, Vishnu. Taraha Mantreshu. So in the mantras, your Taraha, you have to say, because if you say Tara means Vali's wife in Ramayana. Brihaspati's wife's name is also Tara. So when you say Tara mantra, it becomes completely different meaning. Your Taraha mantra means the one who is the Pranava mantra. So you are the amongst mantra, you are the Pranava mantra. Then Rajñam Manurisi. So among all the kings who have existed, you are the Manu, because at a given point in time, the Manvantara, the Manu is the supreme leader, supreme king. So you are the Manu for that. Among sages, you are the Bhrigu. You are the Bhrigu, who is the one of the big Brahma Rishi. Among Deva Rishis, you are Narada. Then Prahlado Danavanam. Amongst the Asuras, right? Amongst people who are considered Asuras, people do bad things. Who is the greatest Asura? Prahlada. He was born to Hiranyakashipu in the Asura clan, but he's the greatest of the devotees. So you are Prahlada amongst the Asuras. Then amongst animals, Pashuchusha Surabihi. Amongst the animals, you're Surabhi, you're Kamadenu, the ever giving cow. Then Pakshinam Vainateyo. Amongst the birds, you are Vainateya, is referring to Garuda here, because Garuda's mother's name is Vinatha. So Vinatha's son is Vainateya. So amongst the birds, you are Vainateya, you are referring to Garuda. Naganam Asya Nantaha. So amongst the serpents, you are the Adishesha. right? So it's no doubt about it. And Sura Saritapicha, amongst the rivers, amongst the sacred rivers, you are Ganga, Ganges, which has come from the Devaloka. So he says this way, he's just going comparison, saying, you know, you are the greatest. I cannot say how great you are. So the only way for me to tell how great you are is comparing you to the best and saying you are the best in everything. So Tvam hi Brahmaiva Sakshat Paramuru Mahimanne. So the double na that is there, first put a in Mahimanne, comma. Next word starts with a A. Aksharanam Akaraha. Put a visarga at the end of that line and comma. Next line, the is goes away. Taro Mantreshu, comma. Ragnyam Manurasi, comma. Munishu Tvam Bhrigur Naradopi. So the first couple of stanzas, Ushaguru, Meenu, just say one time, then we'll try to make up some time. Tvam hi brahmaiva sakshat paramuru mahimanne aksharana makaraha taro mantreshu ragnyam manurasi munishu tvam bhrigur naradopi.
Tvam hi brahmaiva sakshat paramuru. Sorry, did it say comma?
Yeah, no,
Sakshat?
it goes till paramuru mahiman continues.
Oh. Tvam hi brahmaiva sakshat paramurumahi manna aksharanamakarah taro mantreshu ragnam manurasi munishitvam bhrugunnaradopi.
Yeah, no, Ushaguru, the second thing after mantreshu, there is a comma, okay?
Mantreshu, oh. Ragnam manurasi munishitvam bhrugunnaradopi. Tvam hi
One line is
brahmaiva.
okay, Ushaguru. Just so first next couple of stanzas is
Oh,
one
okay.
line will do, yeah.
त्वं हि ब्रह्मैव साक्षात् परमुरुमहिमन् अक्षराणामकारः तारो मन्त्रेषु राज्ञां मनुरसि मुनिषु त्वं भृगुर्नारदोऽपि.
Prahlado Danavanam, comma, Pashushu Cha Surabhihi, comma, Pakshinam Vainateyo, comma, Naganam, you can break it that ma, Naganam Asyanantaha, that is there, put a visarga, comma, Asyanantaha, comma, Sura Saridapi Cha Srotasam Vishwamurte. Prahlado Danavanam Pashushu Chasurabhihi Pakshinam Vainateyo Naganam Asyanantaha Surasaridapi Chasrotasam Vishwamurte.
Prahlado Danavanam Pashushucha Surabhis Pakshinam Vainateyo Naganamasya Nantasara Saridapicha Stotrasam Vishwamurte.
Ushagara, that fourth line, Naganam Asyanantaha, that is you, put a visarga and comma.
Okay, okay. Naganam Asyanantaha Surasaridapicha Stotrasam Vishwamurte.
प्रह्लादो दानवानां पशुषु च सुरभिः पक्षिणां वैनतेयो नागानाम् अस्य नन्दः सुरसरितपि च श्रोतसां विश्वमूर्ते.
Answer two. Brahmanyanam balistvam Kratushu Japayagnosi Vireshu Partho Bhaktanam Uddhavastvam Balamasi Balinam Dhamate Jasminam Tvam Nastyantastvad Vibhutehe Vikasad Atishayam Vastu Sarvam Tvam Heva Tvam Jivastvam Pradhanam Yadiha Bhavadrite Tanna Kinchet Prapanche. It kind of continues in the talking about the greatness, saying of the people who are devoted to you, right? So Brahmanyanam, one word, holy men, amongst holy men, you are Mahabali. So Mahabali is an asura, right? But still we saw during the Vamana Avataram, when he saw the Narayana coming as Vamana, as a Brahmin boy, he did all the appropriate protocols and asked what he wanted and honored his word, right? He says, you are amongst the holy men, you are Mahabali. Then amongst this thing, sacrifices, amongst the yoga things, you are Japa Yajna. right? Japam is the best. Is it because if you remember Sahasranamam, Yudhishthira himself asked, Kim Japan Muchyate Jantur Janma Samsara Bandhana. What is the Japam I have to do to get rid of all of that? So you are the Japa amongst all the sacrifices that one can do. Veereshu Partho. So amongst the the heroes, you are of course Arjuna because he's the greatest. Bhaktanam Uddhavastvam. While you have a lot of devotees, Uddhava is of course, like we said, the greatest of the devotees because he was there with Krishna all through the period, and even at the very end when Krishna was departing, also Uddhava was the one who was there, right? So definitely there's no doubt about that. Balamasi Bhalinam. So if you talk about people who are strong, there have been a lot of people who have been strong. You are strongest amongst all those who are strong. And the Dama Tejasvinam Tvam. You are also the one who you are not only what you call shining or grand than everything else. You are also the one who gives that shine to everything else also, right? So of course you are going to be greater than this. Then he goes on to say one very nice thing, right? So he says, I can just keep going. There is nothing, there's no end to your glories. I can keep telling you are stronger than the strongest, you're braver than the bravest. I can pick any category and you're going to be in the top of that list. But the problem that will come is when we say you are in Aksharam, then would E, and all get offended? And would that say, what do you mean? So Narayana is not there in me, right? When you say you are Ganges, then, for those of you who are from Chennai, you'll say, what about Kuvam? What do you mean? Kuvam is a very filthy, polluted water body, right? So is Narayana not there in Kuvam? So Bhattipat says, you are there in Vastu Sarvam. There's not a single thing in which you are not there, right? If there's anything in this universe, you are in that, right? So by saying that you are the greatest among this, you're saying, I'm just praising you. But that doesn't mean you are not in any of those things. Then best he says, there's not a single thing that you are not in, right? So that is your glory. So we cannot go, when you're describing the glory, you cannot go and say you are best, right? That's why I'm going to worship you. So tomorrow, what if somebody says, no, somebody else is best? So the best will keep changing, right? So you cannot compare to the top because the top position may go off tomorrow. Somebody else will become stronger. So he says, you are there in absolutely everything. There's nothing in this world that is not you. So that is how he describes the glory here. So Brahmanyanam Balistvam, Kratushu cha Japayagnosi, Veereshu Partho, Bhaktanam Uddhavastvam, Balamasi Balinam, again, Dhama Tejasvinam Tvam. Brahmanyanam Balistvam, Kratushu cha Japayagnosi, Veereshu Partho, Bhaktanam Uddhavastvam, Balamasi Balinam, Dhama Tejasvinam Tvam.
Brahmanyanam balistvam kratushu japayagnosi veereshi partho bhaktanam uddhavastvam balimasi balinam dhama tejasvinam tvam.
Brahmanyanam balistvam kratushu japagnosi veereshu partho bhaktanam uddhavastvam balamasi balinam tamadejasvinam tvam.
Nastyantas Tvat Vibhutehe. So put a visarga and comma after that. Vibhutehe. Next line on top of that V, there is a ir that will go away. Vikasad Atishayam, if you want to break it. Vikasad Atishayam. Vastu Sarvam Tvameva, Tvam Jivas Tvam Pradhanam, Yadiha Bhavadrite Tanna Kinchit Prapanche. Nastyantastvат vibhutehe vikasat atishayam vastu sarvam tvameva tvam jivastvam pradhanam yadiha bhavadrite tanna kinchit prapanche.
Nastyantastvadvibhutehe vikasaddatishayam vastu sarvam tvameva tvam jevastvam pradhanam yadiha bhavadrite tanna kinchit prapanche.
Nastyantastvadvibhutehe विकसत् अतिशयं वस्तु सर्वं त्वमेव त्वं जीवसत्त्वं प्रधानं यतिह भवद्रुते तन्न किञ्चित् प्रपञ्चे.
Stanza 3. Dharmam varnashramanam shrutipatavihitam tvatparattvena bhaktya kurvantontarvirage vikasati shanakai santyajanto labhante satta spurtir priyatvatmakam akila padharteshu bhinneshu bhinnam nirmoolam vishwamoolam paramamahamiti tvat vibhodam vishuddham. So when you think of the what we call as the varna ashrama, right? So the ashrama is the kind of 4 stages, right? We say one is you are a student, then you become a grahastha, a house keeper, where you do your necessary stuff. Then technically the thing says that once the moment you have a grandkid, right, then you have to go to, you then become a vanaprastha, which means you have to renounce everything and you have to go to the forest, right? And then you should learn to get used to that, and then eventually you take up sannyasam. Those are the 4 ashramas. Then we have the 4 varnas, right, which is Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. And again, the Hindu thing doesn't say it is by birth, it is based on the activities you do. So we do all 4 anyways, right? Doesn't matter. He says anyone who is in any of these stages of the ashrama, or who's in any of these varnas, right, or based on what they're doing, as long as, who perform their duties as it is laid out, and then who surrenders whatever they're doing and are with devotion for them without any doubt. It doesn't matter that Brahmin is going to be better than the Shudra or anything. He says you can be in anything as long as you're doing these things. Automatically, that viragam, which is a detachment from the material things, is going to come. And once you finally become detached from all of these things, you'll get the knowledge of the Supreme Lord. There should be no doubt that is regarding that, right? That you will all start seeing the Supreme Being in you. So there should be no comparison about it. That's what he's saying. Anybody who's doing it will eventually get it if they are doing their activities and they're devoted as well. And we'll see a little bit of the difference between the different yogas in the next one. But dharmam varnashramanam shruti pata vihitam, tvat paratvena bhaktya, kurvantontar, you got to say that word together, kurvantontar virage, vikasati shanakaihi, put a is, shanakais, santyajanto labhante. Dharmam varnashramanam shrutipata vihitam tvatparatvena bhaktya kurvantontar virage vikasati shanakai santyajanto labhante.
Dharmam varnashramanam shruti-padavihitam tvatparatvena bhaktya kurvantontarvirage vikasata sanaikas santyajanto labhante.
धर्मं वर्णाश्रमाणां श्रुतिपदविहितं त्वत्परत्वेन भक्त्या कुर्वन्तोऽन्तर्विरागे विकसति शनकैः सन्ध्य जन्तो लभन्ते.
Satta spurti priya tvatmakam akhila. I'm just breaking this. Tvatmakam akhila padarteshu bhinneshva bhinnam. So that entire line is continuous, comma at the very end. Nirmoolam vishwamulam paramamahamiti, comma, tvat vibhodam vishuddham. Satta spurti priyatvatmakam akhila padartheshu bhinneshva bhinnam nirmoolam vishwamulam paramamahamiti tvat vibodham vishuddham.
Satta spurti priyatvatmakam padarteshu bhinneshva bhinnam nirmoolam vishwamulam paramamahamiti tadvibodham vishuddham.
Should I go to that last line? Tvad vibodham.
Oh, tadvibodham vishuddham.
सत्ता स्फूर्ति प्रियत्वात्मकम् अखिल पदार्थेषु भिन्नेष्व भिन्नं निर्मूलं विश्वमूलं परममहमिति त्वद्विबोधं विशुद्धम्.
ज्ञानं कर्मापि भक्तिस्त्रितयमिह भवत्प्रापकं तत्र तावत् निर्विन्नानामशेषे विषय इह भवेत् ज्ञानयोगेऽधिकारः Saktanam karma yoga Tvaihi vinihito ye tu natyanta saktaha napyatyantam viraktaha Tvaicha dhritarasa bhakti yogo hyamisham. So when Krishna is telling Uddhava, he repeats a little bit of the message is already given Arjuna and Bhagavad Gita. And I know a lot of you are experts in Gita, so I won't get into too much of details. But Krishna says, Uddhava, that there is, I don't prefer which way, right? If people can attain me or attain perfection in any of the three paths, right? Which is Jnana Yoga or Karma Yoga or Bhakti Yoga, right? However, Krishna has a slight preference here, which we'll come to later, right? But he says in the Jnana Yoga, which is the path of like the speculation, philosophical speculation, knowledge, etc. He says it is recommended for those who are completely disgusted with material life. They're saying, what life are we leading? This food, it's unnecessarily you're getting attached to this food. You get attached to this money unnecessarily. All of this is of nothing. I don't care about what clothes you wear. So you're completely unattached to material life, right? And you're not worried about saying that, oh, if you do this, I'm going to get this benefits. You say, I don't care about any of the benefits that's going to come to me. I don't care about any of these things, right? What's going to come. He says such people, Jnana Yoga makes sense because they're not going to be influenced by any of these things. They're truly caring about understanding what the Supreme Brahman is, understanding the knowledge. So for them, Jnana Yoga makes perfect sense. That's one category of people. The second category of people he talks about is Karma Yoga. He says these are people who are not completely disgusted with material life. They're not saying, I don't want anything. I still have a lot of material desires I want to actually fulfill, So, and, I still want to do this. I want to get the benefits and all this. Is for them, Karma Yoga makes sense. You cannot run away from your duties. But the biggest catch here is, which people miss is, that doesn't mean that you can continue doing what you are doing, right? What it says is, eventually you have to give up everything. But he says for people who cannot give up all these things who are in Karma Yoga, you continue to do what you're doing, but gradually start giving up some of your things towards Bhagavan, right? You start surrendering things. He says, I am doing this because I have to do this, but I'm not doing it to expect results. I'm going to start surrendering, which is very, very hard for us to do, right? So, and that's why we celebrate Father's Day, Mother's Day, thanking everybody, but you should be like thankless, right? You should not want any of that stuff from that perspective. Anyway, so, he says for those people, you start gradually giving it towards Bhagavan, surrendering. Eventually, you will come to a point where you will not desire it. And then you will start doing it with everything devoted to Bhagavan. That is the Karma Yoga path. I know there's more to it. I'm just simplifying it. Then he says the third is category of people who are neither here nor there. They are not saying, I don't want anything, nor are they saying, I want everything. They're kind of somewhere in between. For them, he says Bhakti Yoga is best because all you got to do in Bhakti Yoga, you say my name, you hear my name, you chant about it, you do any of these things, and automatically devotion will come to you. And the moment devotion comes to you, it will start eradicating all of these material desires. So for them, Bhakti Yoga is the best path. She's just kind of saying what makes sense for whom. So Jnanam Karmapi Bhaktis Tritayamiha, Bhavat Prapakam Tatra Tavat. Put it at the end of that line. Tavat, comma. Next line will have double na and a ni. So remove one of the na. Nirvinnanam asheshe. Nirvinnanam asheshe. Vishaya iha bhavet, comma. Jnana yogedhikaraha. Jnanam karmapi bhaktistritayamiha bhavat prapakam tatra tavat nirvinnanamasheshe vishaya iha bhavet jnana yoge dhikaraha.
Jnanam karmapi bhaktistritayamiha bhavat prapakam tatra tavat nirvinnanamasheshe vishayah bhavet Jnana yogeti karaha.
Jnanam karmabhibhakti tritayamiha bhavat prapakam tatra tavat nirvinnanamasheshe vishayaiha bhavet jnana yogeti karaha.
Saktanam karma yogaha. So that is there. Put a visarga comma. Tvaihi vinihito yenu natyanta saktaha. comma, napyatyantam viraktaha. Put again visarga, comma, remove the is which is there, viraktaha. Tvayi cha dhritarasa bhakti yogo hyamisham. So ha and ya, hyamisham. Saktanham karma yoga त्वयि विनिहितो ये तु नात्यन्तसक्ताः नाप्यत्यन्तं विरक्ताः त्वयि च धृतरसा भक्तियोगो ह्यमीषाम्.
सक्तानां कर्मयोगः त्वयि विनिहितो यो तु नात्यन्तसक्ताः नाप्यत्यन्तविरक्ताः त्वयि च धृतरसा भक्तियोगो ह्यमीषाम्.
Third line, Ushagaru, vinihito yetu. I think you said yotu. Yetu natyantasaktaha.
Oh, vinihito yetu natyantasaktaha.
Yeah.
सक्तानां कर्मयोगः द्वयि विनिहितो ये तु नाद्यन्तसक्ताः नाप्यत्यन्तं विरक्ताः द्वयि च धृतरसा भक्तियोगो ह्यमीषाम्.
That's right. Jnanam tvadbhaktatam va lagu sukrutamashan martyaloke labhante tasma tatraiva janma sprihayati bhagavan nakago narako va avishtam mam tu daivat bhavajala nidhipo tahite martyadehe tvam kritva karnadharam gurum anuguna vatayitastarayeta. And you're saying that the people who are actually in the lower planetary worlds and the people who are in the higher planetary worlds, devas, they all prefer human life. Why? Because devas, they have less things to worry about, right? When you eventually graduate to higher the demigod status, right? You have less things to worry about. But they say they also prefer a human life. The reason for that is the human life is the easiest path for you to get liberated, right? That's what everybody is preferring. That so he says, oh humans, don't focus on becoming elevated into going to these heavenly planets, because it's not going to help you. Because eventually, once you go there, you will feel like, I wish I was a human, because this gives me a faster speed pass to getting actually liberated. So he says, so that is, so that's number one, right? And then he says, in this material world, as a result of sukrita vashat, as a result of some good deeds you actually performed in several of your past lives, you actually get access to devotion, right? And then now that you've got access to devotion, a wise person, what he will do, or he or she will do, is they will not let this go to waste, right? So by focusing on other things, he says, so as long as you got access to this, leverage this to the benefit so that you take full advantage of this. And then he says, I've got this human body which is functioning, right? Because imagine if you have a lot of other challenges, then you can't even do that. Like Bhattaripad said in several other things, if I do not have a leg, I cannot come and see you. I cannot go to your temples. If my eyes don't work, I cannot come and see you. So as long as your body parts are functioning, he says, put it to good use. Because you don't know when what part will stop working later, right? So please use this human body as a boat, right, for actually crossing this samsara, which is the life and death, the cycle that is there. Help me cross this using this human body. And then it says, that you become the wind. He says the guru, whoever you have as a guru, becomes your the captain of the boat. Your body is the boat. The guru becomes the captain of the boat, and you, Krishna, you bless me so that you become the wind, the sail, which will actually help me cross this ocean of samsara. Jnanam tvat bhaktatam va, comma, laghu sukrita vashan martya loke labhante, comma, tasmat tatraiva janma sprihayati bhagavan, comma, nakago narako va. Jnanam tvadbhaktatam va lagu sukritavashan martyaloke labhante tasmat tatraiva janma sprihayati bhagavan nakago narako va.
Gnanam tvadbhaktatam va lagu sukritavashan martyaloke labhante tasmat tatraiva janma spruhayati bhagavan nakago narako va.
ज्ञानं त्वद्भक्तानां वा लघुसुकृतवशान् मर्त्य लोके लभन्ते तस्मात् तत्रैव जन्म sorry அது என்ன எப்படி சொல்லணும்
तस्मात् तत्रैव जन्म स्पृहयति भगवन्
स्पृहयति okay स्पृहयति भगवन् नागको नारको वा
आविष्टं मां तु दैवात्, so put the comma after that, दैवात् भव जल निधि पोतायिते मर्त्यदेहे, comma त्वं कृत्वा कर्णधारं गुरुम अनुगुण, you can break it that ma if you want, gurum anuguna vatayitas tarayetaha. So that fourth line is continuous. Avishtam mam tu daivat bhava jala nidhipotayite martyadehe tvam kritva karnadharam gurum anuguna vatayitas tarayetaha.
आविष्टं मां तु देवाद् भवजल निधिपोतायिते मर्त्यदेहे त्वं कृत्वा कर्णधारं तारयेताः
आविष्टं मां तु दैवात् भवजलनिधि बोधायिते मर्त्यदेहे त्वं कृत्वा कर्णधारं गुरुमनुगुणवादायितस्तारयेताः.
Do one more and stop today. Avyaktam margayantah श्रुतिभिरपि नयैः केवलज्ञानलुब्धाः क्लिश्यन्तेतीव सिद्धिं बहुतरजनुषामन्त एवाप्नुवन्ति दूरस्थः कर्मयोगोऽपि च परमफले नन्वयं भक्तियोगस्त्वामूलादेव हृद्यः त्वरितमयि भवत्प्रापको वर्धतां मे. Same message is continuing on this, saying that people who are only attracted to kevala jnana lubdaha, who only want to attain knowledge, which is the jnana yoga, who are seeking the unmanifested, the Brahman, the supreme Brahman, which does not have a form, any of that in this unmanifested form. They study the Veda, they study the Nyaya Shastra, logic and everything, all of that stuff. It says it takes several lifetimes for them to attain. Just imagine one thing, right? For us to even understand what is there in one Veda, it will take us a lifetime. Forget understanding the Vedas, the Upanishads, to then eventually get to understanding what a Brahman means and what it is. It will take several lifetimes. He says it's a very complicated path, right? That it's actually there. And Karma Yoga, Bhatripad is very simply saying it is just far-fetched for all of us. The first thing we see in every household, we all say is, I'm doing so much for the house, I get no appreciation, right, for the work we are actually doing. We all say that, at least in my house, we hear that all the time, right? So because we all expect results. In our work, we expect results. So he said, I did well, I did not get this salary. So we all expect results. So it's impossible for us to give up those not expecting anything. He says, so for all of them, the best option is the Bhakti Margam. He says, you spend as much time as possible in devotion, because eventually that will be the best way out, because the other two are just not feasible for us, right? So that's why I always go back to why Vyasa wrote Srimad Bhagavatam. It goes fundamentally to that, because even after compiling the 4 Vedas, Vyasa felt that first of all, people do not have access to Vedas. It's too complicated. Then he wrote the Mahabharata, where he condensed the essence of the Vedas as stories in the Puranas from what was actually happening. He said that way it will be accessible to women, accessible to anybody. There's no restriction. But what happens is people get bound by the definitions. They lose track of what is happening. So he says what was missing in all of that was the pure devotion, which is why he ends up compiling Srimad Bhagavatam. He says, so don't even doubt about it. Bhakti Margam is the easiest and the best way, because instantly you'll start feeling happy with it, right? And then it will continue to grow. So Avyaktam Margayantaha, comma, Shruti Bhirapi Nayaihi, is there, put a ih sound, Nayaih, Kevala Jnana Lubdhaha, comma, Klishyante Tiva, comma, Siddhim Bahutara Janushamanta Evapnuvanti. अव्यक्तं मार्गयन्तः श्रुतिभिरपि नयैः केवलज्ञानलुब्धाः क्लिश्यन्तेतीव सिद्धिं बहुतरजनुषामन्त एवाप्नुवन्ति
अव्यक्तं मार्गयन्तः श्रुतिभिरपि नयैः केवलज्ञानलुब्धाः क्लिश्यन्तेतीव सिद्धं बहुतरजनुषामन्त एवाप्नुवन्ति.
Ushakar, second line siddhim.
Siddhi.
Yeah.
It's a
I think you said siddham or something. Siddhim.
oh Siddhi. Okay, but there is no comma on there.
No comma there. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks, sir. Clishyante tiva siddhim.
अव्यक्तं मार्गयन्तः श्रुतिभिरभिनयै केवलज्ञानलुब्धाः क्लिश्यन्तेतीव सिद्धिं बहुधरजनुषा मन्द एवाप्नुवन्ति.
Mean the second line like clishyante tiva. After that there is a comma. Okay.
क्लिश्यन्तेतीव
comma siddhim.
Okay.
Durastaha, put a ich to join. Durastah karma yogopi cha parama phale, comma nanvayam bhakti yoga. This bhakti yoga and then put a plus. And there's is there, so we'll continue that. Nanvayam bhakti yogas twamuladeva hridyaha. So there we'll put a visarga comma. So one comma after parama phale in the third line. Third line continues after hridyaha, comma tvaritamai bhavat prapako vardhatam me. Durastah karma yogopi cha parama phale nanvayam bhakti yogastvamooladeva hridyaha tvaritamai bhavat prapako vardhatam me.
Durastah karma yogopi च परमफले नन्वयं भक्ति योगास्त्वामालादेव रुच्यस्वरितमयि भवत्प्रापको वर्धतां मे.
So the fourth line twamuladeva hridyaha. So you put a visarga and comma there.
Okay.
Can you just say that one more time? The third and fourth line.
Yeah. Okay. दूरस्थः कर्मयोगिपि च परमफले नन्वयं भक्तियोगास्त्वामूलादेव हृद्यः त्वरितमयि भवत्प्रापको वर्धतां मे.
दूरस्थः कर्मयोगोऽपि च परमफले नन्वयं भक्तियोगस्त्वामूलादेव हृद्यः त्वरितमयि भवत् प्रापको वर्धतां मे.
Krishnaya Parabrahmane Namah. We'll end here today. And then next class, we'll try to finish off the remaining 4 and the 10 more, which is there in 99. So maybe we might have to stretch the class, but we'll see it then. Krishnaya Parabrahmane Namah. Sandhanandhavabodhatpakamanupamitam kalateshavadibhyam nirmuktam nityamuktam nigamashatasahasrena nirbhasyamanam aspashtam drishtamatre दृष्टमा पुनरुरुपुरुषार्थात्मकं ब्रह्मतत्त्वं तत्तावद्भाति साक्षात् गुरुपवनपुरे हन्त भाग्यं जनानां कायेन वाचा मनसेन्द्रियैर्वा बुद्ध्यात्मना वा प्रकृते स्वभावात् करोमि यद्यत् सकलं परस्मै नारायणायेति समर्पयामि.
Happy Father's Day, Rajesh.
Happy Father's Day.
Happy Father's Day.
All
Rajesh.
enjoy as well. Bye.
Yeah.
Happy Father's Day,
Bye.
everyone. Bye.
Happy Father's Day.
Thank you, Vijaya. Bye.